It's not the best 3D plane out there, but it's good enough to learn with and fly the hell out of. Hey there, I'm John. This is Two Brothers RC, and this is the E-flite Extra 330 SC, coming back for a 1-year review. It's been a while, I've flown it quite a bit. Now, let's see how it holds up after a year with the new 25-point review criteria. So, let's dive into it and see how it stacks up to the no patent pending Two Brothers review system. Before we get into the maneuverability section, let's start by giving you my actual opinion of the Extra 330 SC from E-flite. First, it's obviously not the best plane out there, or even close to it. That title is held by whatever company you happen to be a team pilot for. The Extra 330 SC flies well enough for a foam 3D plane to do everything you want to do. It's just going to fight you a little bit on some of the inputs and require more timing to balance and perfect the routine that you're trying to do with it. Some of the maneuvers necessitate exact timing, and some are really difficult to pull off at all, like pop-tops for example. However, it does great blenders and knife edge spins and great flat spins too, and it hovers pretty easy, if a little twitchy. How does it compare to a dedicated team pilot branded balsa plane? It doesn't. I've flown quite a good bit of balsa and nothing else flies quite like it does. So if you're planning to come into the comments and say foam bad, balsa good, go tell people who don't know this already. I actually think it's more like foam good, balsa way better, but I'm not a team pilot, so take my opinion for what it is. The opinion of someone who can fly 3D moderately well, but is nowhere near as good as people who do it constantly. Anyhow, let's start off by talking maneuverability. First, we check for whether the Extra 330 is prone to stalling while maneuvering. Fortunately not, but it is possible to make it stall if you shift the center of gravity aft and increase the throws significantly. These are both easy to do if you want to. Flying within the recommended center of gravity should pose no problem, even with extreme throws, so long as you're managing your airspeed and throttle usage. It passes here. We now check for whether it fights 3D inputs. This is one that I'm kinda torn on. I think that it wouldn't fight my inputs if I knew the exact timing necessary for this plane to hit the maneuvers that I'm trying to perform, like crankshafts for example. Last year I got them down pat almost every time I tried, but this year those same inputs turned into flat spins. Not really what I wanted. I think it's fair to say that it generally doesn't fight inputs, but trying to do XA style maneuvers like pop-tops and crankshafts will make it happen. So to be fair, I'm gonna ding it here. Not because it's bad, but because this is definitely more of a slower 3D style plane rather than an aggressive tumbler. It does have high thrust, and it's gonna need a decent sized battery to go with it. This motor and ESC combo can toast a battery if you're not using a suitably sized pack. I suggest using a minimum of 3000 class. Spectrum 3200s should work great here, and it passes. Harriers do seem to be completely free of wing rock. This was an issue that plagued the Extra 300 that the 330 evolved from. This version definitely improves in that regard, and upright Harrier is effortless, with very little if any correction needed to fly. Inverted Harrier is similarly easy if you're used to flying upside down with some stick pressure to keep it there. Reminder, if you're flying inverted, rudder directions are normal while the plane is coming towards you, but those rudder directions become inverted when the plane passes by you. Just food for thought if you're a new 3D pilot, or if you just didn't know this. It is XA capable to a limited extent. Like I said earlier, it's resistant to entering pop-tops, but it will do knife edge spins and pretty sweet blenders. I think it's safe to say that it passes here, but just barely. I think an updated version of this plane should definitely have a focus on making the plane tumble better. Because as it stands now, it's definitely more of a low and slow 3D plane rather than a fast and tumbly plane. The Extra 330 SC passes with a 4 out of 5 in this section. Moving into flight time, if you're flying the appropriately sized battery for this plane, which is to say something in the 3000 class range, you should see an average of 5 to 6 minutes of flying. Our best flying was 7 minutes, but the average was closer to a high 5 minutes and low 6 minutes range. So of course, if you're flying really aggressive, you'll reduce your flight times, but you may also reduce the fun you'll have too. So I'll say it passes here with a 4 out of 5. Moving on to the landing gear section, the Extra 330 comes with functional but stiff wheels. It's good that they work, it's bad that they transfer shock to the airframe. It passes and fails these first two checks. The suspension is stiff, which is what we're looking for with a 3D plane to avoid prop strikes, passing here too. The gear are lightweight aluminum, which passes, and being stiff gear, they require very little maintenance so long as you're not slamming it into the ground. If your landings look like mine, you've got nothing to worry about, passing here with a total score of 4 out of 5 again. Before we move on to the fit and finish and avionics sections, consider scrolling down a little, hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, definitely consider doing it for me. And if you're not part of our Discord chat server community yet, hop down to the description below, join up, and chat airplanes with us. I promise we don't bite, just like this plane. Fit and finish wise, the Extra 330 shines very well. All of the paint adheres to the airframe, which is admittedly a small bar to hop over unless you look at some companies and what they sell, which passes here. The linkages are high quality enough to throw the plane around easily using plastic ball couplers that hold up to anything you want to do with the plane, passing here too. It does have durable foam, being made out of EPO foam, and it will take impacts well, though it's not always going to look pretty again if you crash it, which passes here. It is easy to assemble, which passes, but disassembly is rather annoying, with one of the wings being kind of difficult to get the screw out of unless I unscrew the wing screw from the bottom while the plane is sitting on a plane stand upright. Then it falls out after I jiggle the wing a little. Kind of annoying, but it still passes here. Maybe I should add easy to assemble and disassemble into the metrics. What do you think? Let me know down below and I'll consider updating the review criteria. It uses plastic hinges across the entire airframe, which is sorely needed for the kind of flying that you're able to do with it. Without those hinges, the control surfaces would just rip off of the plane. So this is great and I'm happy to see it. The Extra 330 passes with a 5 out of 5 here. Our final category is avionics and lighting, and we start by checking the servos. Initially, I did all of my 1-year review flying on the stock 17-gram E-flite servos, which held up to basically everything you've seen so far. Then, I ended up crashing my Precision Aerobatics Ultimate AMR 60. And I wanted to reuse the servos, so I threw them into the Extra to see if they made a difference compared to the stock setup. I've flown planes before where new servos make a huge difference in how the plane performs, like my turbo timber, for example. But here, I actually struggled to notice any serious difference between the PA Nexitech servos and the E-flite servos. That isn't to say that the PA servos are bad, more that the airframe is limited in what it can perform and that the stock servos are already pushing it to its full potential. So I don't think that the servo upgrade was really worth it, because I was able to do everything that I was already doing already, and the plane didn't really feel all that different in the end to me. Anyhow, the stock servos pass our first checkpoint, and good for you guys because some of you follow what I say religiously, and I'm glad I saved you some money on that one. The battery does get airflow, which is great, and there's an opening in the snoot that forces air through the airframe, which includes the location of the battery, keeping the packs from getting too hot while aggressively flying, even in this ridiculous North Carolina summer we've been dealing with. The Extra passes here too. I didn't notice any ESC overheating issues whatsoever, no matter how hot it got outside, and I was flying in high 90s with the heat index being about 103 degrees Fahrenheit or 39.4 degrees Celsius. The Extra passes here too. The motor mount appears to be very well designed. It's sandwiched inside of the plane between a buttload of foam, and it will never be an issue so long as you don't nosedive directly onto the motor itself. At that point, you probably need a new fuselage anyhow. The Extra passes here. It does have adjustable battery positioning. You can use the front compartment for most of your flying, or you can go stupid tail heavy by shoving the battery into the foam channel behind the battery compartment. I don't recommend flying it like this because I've tested it and it's way too tail heavy even with a gyro, and I had to fight it a lot to fly like this. Sometimes going too far aft is a bad thing, even with a gyro, and the Extra passes here too with a 5 out of 5. Overall, the E-flite Extra 330 earns a 22 out of 25. That's a pretty respectable score, and I think it shows in how you're seeing me fly it, because I don't normally fly like this if I don't enjoy what I'm flying. I do wish it was more capable of XA, the high-speed tumbling and other gravity-defying maneuvers that I'm able to perform with balsa planes and some E-flite non-3D planes like the Super Timber. But it does what it needs to do, which is to help you learn to fly 3D with a plane that won't disintegrate if you make a mistake, because nobody's perfect and we're always learning. If you like this plane and what you've seen it perform so far, hop down to the description below and pick it up with our affiliate link. Contrary to some opinions which are floating around lately, it is both possible to be honest and accept airplanes from manufacturers to review and not constantly bash the manufacturers just because their less expensive toy-grade offerings give you a less expensive toy-grade experience. If you know what I'm talking about, sound off in the comments below. If you're watching this a year later, well, you missed out on some of the fireworks, didn't you? Huge thanks goes out to our channel members on twobrosrc.com/supporters, and a very special thanks goes out to our mega fans, Sarasota RC Squadron, Michael Smith, JR Man, and Todd, along with our ultra fans, Seahawk92 and TBRC Fan. You guys kick so much ass. Coming up soon will be the brand new look at the Cavan L39 Albatross 80mm from FPV Builds RC. This thing is gorgeous, it's fast, it flies incredible, but it's not cheap. See you guys next week.